I guess I'll be introducing everybody in a little more detail. Jenni Ogden, of course, Athena, and Celeste Lear. So just to get going, I'll introduce myself a little bit here. Need the slide. There we go. So this is me. I've been around for a while, doing a lot of immersive media, immersive experiences, mostly dome theaters. I left aerospace engineering in 1990 to work in a dome. So, but what I wanted to, before we get going deep into this, talk about the XR ecosystem, extended reality. We have immersive art galleries. You have VR headsets that block out the world. You have AR headsets that augment the world with digital characters and pixels. Mobile AR, which is what we just did here with Stone Speaks. There's the metaverse, where you go into, either on your desktop, even on your phone or VR, you go into a virtual world. You have an avatar, a digital representation of yourself. It could be a cartoon character, it could be something more elaborate that you dress up. You have mixed reality, where you put on a headset, but you're walking through a space, you can grab and touch objects, but those objects look very different to you than they do in the real world. And then you have the domes. And what's cool about the domes that attracted me to this space is, let's see here. Well, is that there's really a wide variety of types of domes out there. You have event domes, you have portable planetariums, digital planetariums, giant screen cinemas, you have full spheres, you have theme park domes, if you're soaring over California, or ride films. And basically what we're doing is we're taking you into another world. This is not about watching a movie on a screen. It's about entering another world, and we teleport you into that world. And you have to, when you tell stories in these dome theaters, it's very different than film or television. The brain responds as if you're actually there. And I know Jenni will talk a bit more about that as well. So one cool thing is there's arts and entertainment domes are popping up all over. You've probably seen the Madison Square Garden Sphere in Vegas. That's the granddaddy now of dome theaters. Live concerts and films. There's Cosm down here in Inglewood has a dome theater. And it's they do a lot of sporting events. It's kind of like a sports bar on steroids. So what the work that I'm doing, I'll just show you, just give you a little taste of it. What we're doing is we're exploiting the power of immersive media to evoke very strong emotions that are difficult to access with film or television. And this includes a sense of awe. And what we've learned about awe, we have two shows that have done quite well. Sold about 1.4 million tickets so far, running in over 100 dome theaters around the world. And the potential is there. There's about 100 million people go through the domes of the world every year, the digital domes. There's incredible potential here to deliver positive impact programming that promotes environment, that inspires people with stories and such. So the work that I do depends on what I call the science of awe. And there's actually a lot of studies that have been done on the power of awe. And people who have an awe-inspiring experience, including at Burning Man, right? It's what we like to call collective effervescence, where you have some spectacular, effigy burning, and you just, oh my God, that's so cool. And you're in there with a bunch of people, you're all in it together, right? So you have this feeling of togetherness. And when people have an experience like that, it increases pro-social behavior. People have less need to be right, less fear of the future. They become more altruistic and more creative. And I'm just like, Yeah, we need more of that in the world. This is important stuff, you know. How can we share these experiences more? So here's a little ditty from one of our shows called Beautifica. So next up, I'd like to introduce Celeste Lear. Celeste is an immersive experience producer, designer, musician, activist. She is an incredible woman who I met also in the metaverse first, right? And she's very multi-talented. I'll let her talk about some of the work she's done. Let's pass that down.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the warm welcome. So yes, my name's Celeste Lear. I'm an immersive experience designer and producer, creative technologist, and a founder of Boutique XR. I've been working with extended reality, VR, AR, and holograms for the last 7 years, mostly in virtual events, in entertainment, and in education. And I fell in love with these incredible new tools and the community that is wielding them. Although I work in tech, I am a nature lover. I grew up in Topanga. I spend as much time as I can outdoors. And I'm a longtime truth seeker and environmental activist. And I've spent years in this field, in VR, actually looking for information and solutions that can help society to become more efficient and potentially take the pressure off of our planet. And because we've worked, in the ways we've worked with this tech, I've been able to work on some really exciting projects, the most noteworthy being the United Nations and some metaverse activations that we've had for the Sustainable Development Goals that I'm going to talk about here. So I found this quote online, and I thought it was poignant and thought-provoking. So the metaverse holds the promise of radically altering individual and institutional behaviors. And in this collective moment, the possibilities are staggeringly exciting and incredibly underestimated. Now, for a lot of you, the term metaverse probably evokes images of science fiction and maybe some dystopian visions because we've seen maybe too many episodes of Black Mirror. But for me and a lot of the people in the XR community, there's a term we like called white mirror. And the metaverse and spatial computing tech represents a powerful and often overlooked frontier for humanity's collective fight for a sustainable planet, for exchanging information, raising awareness, and inspiring awe, what Ed was talking about. Since this may be one of the more controversial panels here today, but we were invited as industry experts to talk about this tech here at Green Economy. I just wanted to show you a few of these slides to help explain some of the reasons why we're here and to discuss this particular topic and how many of us in the industry are feeling about using this technology, the pros and the cons, because believe me, there is some conflict. So if we're to get to net zero CO2 emissions, we will need to create more virtual objects and less physical objects. So this concept is kind of fascinating. And in a world where our resources are finite, extended reality offers an infinite space to experiment, educate, test, and without cutting down as many trees or filling as many landfills. So every physical object we manufacture, whether it's a computer monitor, a product prototype, or promotional toy, comes with a carbon cost, as we all know. So shifting more towards virtual objects in certain contexts is something that we can start looking at. I chose a couple pictures to kind of depict this. And one example that I saw when I went to the Augmented World Expo last year is called a Spacetop. Spacetop is computer monitors that you're going to be able to use with AR glasses. So we all know we're on our phones all the time, and in the very near future, we're most likely going to be starting to use our glasses in place and along with our phones. And there's really good pros and cons around that concept, but the Spacetop is just a little tiny laptop, but with the visual screen. So this is just a sample of something that could potentially replace plastic monitors, reduce mining, and hopefully deforestation and landfill from e-waste. In the same way as also digital toys like a Pokemon. If anyone has kids, these kids are chasing these little digital animated things. Another area that I felt kind of would be a great example is I've worked in Hollywood in virtual production, and virtual production is a very new method of using LED stages and digital 3D CG backgrounds for film and television production that has proven to been reduce carbon emissions by 50 to even 90% by a typical production team in Hollywood. And that's because of the need for less travel, people not flying around from locations to go scouting and actors flying back and forth. It's all done in one studio. And that's a pretty cool case. And these facts here I did find online and check them. And so the 1.92 million tons of CO2 has been saved recently. That's Hollywood working in sustainability, and I think that's something pretty incredible to be looking at. Whoops. I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, so this sample is my baby, and Athena was actually involved in this project during the pandemic when we were all stuck inside on my team's prior physical projects, including a few UN physical installations were canceled. Since I had been working with immersive technology since 2018, I suggested to my team, I said, hey, you guys, let's move this into the metaverse. We can create simulated experiences. And we worked fast to present a deck to our representatives at UN that we had been working with, and we took them on a tour through the metaverse on a Zoom call so they could see what it would look like. They gave us their blessing, and we actually produced these flagship experiences. So Act Now XR is a very pioneering immersive media platform that uses a combination of VR, AR, and mixed reality to inspire climate action and support the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we've produced 2 official flagship events in partnership with UNESCO and UN, including the Al-Wasl Dome at Expo 2020, which was a simulation of this giant geodesic dome experience and Unity worlds that our artists created, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site that you could come into and learn about the mission of the park, the Uluru Kata Tjuta National Park in Australia, and we timed that on the UN Day of Social Justice. So I only have a few minutes, so I will end there, but that is just a little bit about my history, and I'm excited to be here to talk about all this with you today.
Great. Thanks, Celeste. Cool stuff. And next up, we have Jenni Ogden. And Jenni is creator, storyteller. We've worked on dome projects together. She does some really cool stuff for Disney and cruise ships, right? And just all kinds of immersive entertainment, 3D projection mapping and all that. So Jenni, take it away.
Great, thank you. So I don't need to introduce myself because you just did a great job. Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit more about the power of immersive formats for impact, because one of my biggest passions is social impact storytelling. And doing this in an immersive environment creates not a sense of watching something, but experiencing it. And there's something about an embodied experience that you experience in VR and also in full dome formats. And that's the experience of actually being there instead of watching somebody else being there. And the neuroplasticity of the brain and the learning capabilities in formats like that are very powerful. We're actually affecting the neuroplasticity in the brain, and learning can be up to 30% increase in critical thinking skills and retention. So it's really a powerful format to really move people. And something I speak about a lot is the importance of the stories we tell and the futures we represent, especially in these formats, because we want to visualize the future we want to create. So there's a behavior science behind that, and making sure that we're visualizing solutions that matter. So I'm going to talk about, instead of my past projects, the project that I have in development right now called Metamorphosis. And it's a full dome film, and it is climate storytelling. There we go. Climate storytelling and an opportunity to experience potential futures and explore the choices we make now and in the immediate future and what that will result in. And in my storytelling, we're inspired to solutions in, in the future we want to create and visualizing that future together. So I love stories that inspire, but a lot of things that I really think about, and especially with this project, is how do we take inspiration into tangible impact in the physical world? And that was something that I really wanted my story to do. So my vision for this, my strategy for this is to tour a mobile dome through music festivals, because I want to bring my story to my audience. I want them to be inspired to action. I want to mobilize mass activism in the world. And how do you do that? How do you move people? How do you empower and mobilize a movement? And so I came up with, of course, gamifying activism. And so I will be inviting everybody to join us on a quest to save the world. And my hero from the story will be leading that activism, joining her on a quest to save the world. We're building a mobile AR game, and it's similar to, I think everybody's heard of Pokemon Go. So Pokemon Go meets geocaching in the physical world, geolocation-enabled learning, activism, tasks on behalf of the environment. We also want to amplify people's voices. We want to flip the script on doom scrolling and connect through social media to empower positive activism through social media. And we also want to reward activism. So we're looking at, right now, closing the loop on an eco-token. So part of the reward system will be gaming for an eco-token that we're looking at transferring into the carbon credit market. So all of these things are in development right now, but ultimately we're building a platform that empowers and rewards activism in the world.
Very cool. Next up, we have Athena, who you've already met, so I'll jump right in.
Thank you, Ed. There we go. So I told you all about Burner Sphere. We are literally moments away to switching from our alpha to our beta and launching to the world. Like probably going to happen later on tonight. It's very, very exciting, and it's been a labor of love that we've been doing for 5 years. But I wanted to tell you some numbers. We talk a lot of theory. I talked a lot about the principles. I've been teaching about the principles since we got them in 2004, since they were articulated. And I've been helping people and companies integrate them. But, when we talk about these technologies, they seem like the future. And it's something that later. But it's actually right now. So I'm going to talk about some numbers. When we did our first Burning Man event in VR in 2020, we had 15,000 unique people show up 90,000 times. So they came back 90,000 times during an 8-day event where we had 150 worlds and 1,500 hours of programming. To give you a framework for that, there's 192 hours in 8 days. So we had 1,500 hours of programming. There's no way to see that in 8 days for a single person. But that's very much like Burning Man, which I don't even know how many hours of programming we have at Burning Man. And then in 2021, we did it again, and we had a little less. We had 13,000 participants, but the world was kind of opening back up. But we had 125,000 joins, so those people came more often. 250 worlds, 3,500 hours of programming, and that's when we learned our lesson. Don't have that many things going on at the same time in the virtual world because it split the audience too much. And then opening soon will be Burner Sphere. But overall, this industry is growing faster. The car is faster than pretty much any industry, any technology industry ever. And you'll hear things like metaverse is dead, VR is dead, yet there are millions of people in it, and the investment amount money and the amount of money being spent and activated in this industry, I mean, it's going to be 400 million, something like that, 400 billion dollar industry by 2027. I actually read something this morning in a newsletter that said it was a 900 billion by 2030. Yeah, 900 billion by 2030, which is right around the corner, 5 years from now. I mean, 5 years ago was 2020, which seems like yesterday. So 5 years from now, we're going to look back at this moment, at this talk, and be like, wow, that happened, and 900 billion is an estimate. It's probably going to be more. So let's break down some of these numbers. So Gartner Research, they have already predicted, that 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour a day in the metaverse by 2026. That's next year. 25% of the people will spend at least one. How many people actually have a VR headset or spend time in, not you three, spend time in any sort of virtual world right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That might be 25% of the people in this room, right? So it's already happening. I exercise every day in VR. It's so much fun, and I get a great workout. You too? Do you exercise?
No, I go out on dates.
Oh, you go out on dates in VR. I need to do that. Be better dating.
That's a whole other story.
So let me go to the next one. Okay. So, and then the last one is that there are roughly 400 million monthly metaverse users now. 400 million. By 2030, there could be as many as 5 billion metaverse users. 7 out of 10 US adults are aware of the metaverse. 80% of metaverse users are under 16, which means as this industry grows, so, they're aging into it, they're getting spending power. And 33% of adults are curious about the metaverse. So that's the metaverse by the numbers.
Very cool. Thanks, Athena. Actually, I met Athena in 2020 when she built the BRC-VR. Met Celeste, who was a DJ in the metaverse. And then I came back the next year and built my own camp with 5 domes in the metaverse. It was very cool. So in the spirit of the 10 principles of Burning Man, rather than us all up here talking, I thought we'd make this a little more participatory. So if someone could grab a mic for anybody who has a question. But first, what I'd like to do is just to ask one question. And that is, how do you see AI changing the work that you do? I'm curious, because AI is this big up-and-coming thing, right? Automating human thought even, and content creation and all that. So I thought that would be an interesting first question.
I can say that our use of AI for the app will be for localization so that we can make this app not local but global. So making sure that it's available in all languages, and AI is very powerful for that. And also for a certain amount of responsive content, because in our game, our hero is greeting you in the real world through augmented reality, and we want users to be able to feel connected with her as she greets them and maybe gives them tasks on behalf of the environment.
Very cool.
We use AI all the time, constantly. Our developers are actually still writing code. They don't trust the AI, but they're checking code with AI. And then Doug, my business partner in crime, he uses AI constantly to create. We're like innovating at a level like this like, oh, we want to do this, and then that doesn't exist, and we have to create it. So we're using AI all the time to make the impossible possible. By the way, that's an Audrey Hepburn quote that I love. It's one of my favorite ones. She says, "Nothing is impossible because the word itself says, I'm possible." Mm-hmm. I love that quote. But we're using it all the time.
My teams have not used AI as much until recently, but we have used it for deck creation and generative art, and some of the 3D world building tools like Unity and Unreal Engine are starting to use generative AI to create dream worlds, so you can give prompts to build 3D environments. The last job I had this winter working for a company, they were also using AI as part of their pipeline process for minimalizing the amount of mesh in a volumetric video for streaming purposes. So there's so many uses.
Yeah,
And
and we use it for research all the time. But I will say we are going to use it in a really interesting way, and this is on our forward-looking roadmap. It's impossible to actually have people in our app all the time, 24/7. And we know this as far as monitors and greeters, and we want people to be greeted and we want people to be able to ask questions. So we're actually going to develop AI NPCs. NPC is a non-player character. So there'll be an avatar in world that will not be humanoid, that will be identified as an AI, that when you come into the burner sphere, you'll be able to ask it any question about Burning Man, any question about any of the art, and any question you want about the functionality on the platform. And it will be trained on a language model, and we're collecting the knowledge now. If you ask it something outside of its knowledge base, it will tell you it's outside of the knowledge base, and it won't answer the question. But we are very excited about adding that in so people can interact with it.
Very cool, very cool. I think we had a question in the back there. Okay.
Is it on? Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Scott Weinberg from Topanga also. I'm a big fan of the dome work and the projections and the experiences I've had there. Thank you very much for doing that for so long. My question is around protopian storytelling, not like far-fetched fantasies, not weirdo stuff. What's your favorite? Are there any examples of hyper-real, imminent pathways to a better world told using VR, AI animation? I haven't found anything even proximately interesting yet.
No, that's a great question. And you know, most sci-fi is very dystopian. Most stories about the future are very dystopian. So I don't know, anybody have a...
I have a comment about dystopian storytelling. I think that visualizing the future as a dystopian storytelling world, it's all about world building, and that creates apathy. One of the things that I really examined in my storytelling and also the mobile game is the climate mental health right now is a mental health crisis. And it's because people feel a sense of hopelessness, especially young people, sense of hopelessness and helplessness in the world. And by telling stories that message them about hope and really amplify a hopeful future, and then empowering them with a tool to actually take action, then you're taking away both the hopelessness and the helplessness and positively impacting mental health in the world.
Amen.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, thank you. Burning Man itself is a protopian
Yes.
prototype of community. And of course, there's what, maybe 80,000 we're up to on the Playa each year, something
Yeah,
like
80,000 is our max on Playa.
Yeah.
We can't actually have more because of environmental
Yeah,
impact.
but there's a lot of people who will never go out into
Absolutely.
the desert and do that, right? So putting the Burning Man experience into a metaverse opens it up for a much larger number of people to have that experience.
And it is a documentary experience. Like we go and we film in 360 and 180 formats. We're meshing that content into the digital world. So as people explore it, it's not a game, it's not storytelling, it's story living. We're actually telling the story of the communities that make up Burning Man and then building community in these digital spaces as well, with the hope that people are going to learn about the principles, learn about these communities, find a way to plug themselves in, find the Burning Man events that are in their own backyard, because they're all over the world. I just went to Dragon Burn in China. And China's been having a Burning Man event for 10 years. Well, 14 years, but 4 years they couldn't do it because of COVID. But it's, we are everywhere, and I truly believe that people can practice being their best selves in these digital spaces and then bring that home with them.
That's right. It's like prototyping new ways of being. I love that. And I would also say most metaverse worlds, many say, maybe not most, but many are very protopian as well. You know, they're like fantasy, positive, like that. Next question.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Dwayne. I'm with LA Works. We promote volunteering and community service all across here in the city and county of LA. My question is, in order to improve one's mental health and emotional well-being when it comes to this technology, because we're all guilty of it, the doom scrolling, being online all the time, especially of my generation. I'm born of 1996, so I'm millennial Gen Z cusp. I don't know what generation Alpha is going to go through 10, 20 years down the line, but this is a preview of our future and of our lifetime and our kids' and our grandkids' lifetime. And I think the most important thing when it comes to STEM, plus the performing and the visual arts, is volunteering. I went to a Catholic high school, and they said in order to graduate, it is a requirement to volunteer, to do community service. Can you imagine if every public school or every pre-K through 12 school had that mandatory voluntary community service before you get your high school degree? I think we would be in a more decent position as human beings. So I was curious to see, how can we make sure we humanize those elements with those existing technologies? They've existed for what, 10, almost 20 plus years now?
Yeah.
How could that be incorporated within our local communities and regionally?
First of all, I have to say I love that. And my daughter, in her high school to graduate, she also had to do her community service. And as much as she groaned at first about that, I was so thrilled because it was a value that I had tried to instill always in our home, and that every student in the school was encouraged or required to complete community service. I just thought that was the best thing in the world. One of the reasons I went with Full Dome, which is a shared reality, it's a communal experience for the film, and then a mobile app that sends users into the world and to get in touch with nature, was because I wanted to get people out of their living rooms. I love VR, and I play in it all the time, but I have to say, getting people out in the world and becoming activists in their own right and empowering them with tasks to do in the real world, even if it's through a mobile game, that was a big piece of my reasoning to do that, because we needed to lift people up off their couches and out into the world to get active, to do location specific. So connecting them with their local grassroots efforts is a big piece of some of the tasks that we'll be implementing through the game.
Yeah, I like to say VR is a little like the Matrix. Your body may as well be floating in amniotic fluid while you have cords hooked into your nervous system. And of course, you're completely immersed in cyberspace, and all your friends are in there. And AR is a little more like the holodeck, where you bring the cyber reality into the room. But I think both of them have a place. It's like out-of-home cinema and then at-home home theater or home cinema.
I would say there's no replacement for actual real life physical gathering. There will never be. I say, but VR and AR and immersive experiences are very close second, especially for virtual. So if people can't come together, for one, I've met everyone here in VR. We all met as avatars before I met them in real life, and we've become dear friends in real life. We've had these moments, especially during the pandemic, I'd say, where we would actually have group hugs. That sounds corny, but it was so powerful, and we would philosophize about where these points of consciousness moving through cyberspace, but it's still us, it's still our personalities, and you can still feel someone's energy.
Yeah.
You can still feel their intentions when you're in there, and it's so fascinating. Bringing people together in that way. I was also, so you were touching on, I wanted to mention also there's different apps for mindfulness and meditation, which are very relaxing and calming and give you a sensation of being in nature and listening to very calm, relaxing music that is incredibly relaxing. So again, these immersive experiences, having the visuals all around you and the music, and even if you're in a chaotic environment at home surrounded by traffic or just different kinds of noise, to be able to have moments of mindfulness with this technology is very powerful and calming.
It almost forces you to slow down when you're in an immersive environment. You can't take in information as fast. You're looking around, building a cognitive map of the space. Very cool.
We actually have to slow down our edits. Like how we actually edit the content that we are filming. Like normally it's, quick cuts and you're gonna see this and that. If you watch a commercial, every second and a half, you're gonna see something new. They wanna just keep your brain activated. But in virtual reality, we realized, especially with 360 and 180 content, that we had to slow down the edits and leave things up there for 7, 8, sometimes 10 seconds before we go to the next edit or the next cut, because you're looking around and you're taking it in, and the side effect of that is that people's attention is actually drawn to the content more, because it's not all these quick cuts which are programming our brains into an ADD state, and we've slowed it down. People are like, oh, I just want to sit here and listen to this person for a while, and I feel so calm coming out of the app. And we've heard these comments from people, and it comes from the fact that we're doing what in Hollywood is called slow edits, and it's frowned down upon, but in virtual reality you have to do it, and it's actually better for mental health to slow down the way we cut our content. But TikTok requires you to change it every quarter of a second.
A quick interjection also, when we go into VR, typically it's in spurts. We don't spend the whole day in there. It'll be like an hour at a time, 2 hours at a time. And when we are producing events, we also remind people to unplug and go and take care of their physical bodies. And that's being responsible when we're producing these events. It's something that we try to remain very mindful of.
Although if you're world building, you might find yourself in there quite a long
Well, if you're
period
working
of
in
time.
it.
Yeah, if you're working in it, you might spend a few more than 2 hours in it.
But to what Celeste mentioned, I really enjoy in VR, there's an app called Trip that's meditation that's really, really calming and beautiful. I like that one a lot.
Yep.
They have a new AI. Have you played with it? Kokua?
I have.
Yeah, it's really
It's
great.
on mobile, right? Mobile app.
Yeah, it's a mobile app, Kokua.
I fed into Kokua the idea of metamorphosis, and it gave me back this beautiful response. I thought it was just perfect. So.
Cool,
Yes.
cool. Well, we're going to wind it down. Thank you, panelists, and thank you for your attention.
One more.
One more question. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Hello. So I want to thank all of you for being digital pioneers. I've actually met some of you before. I'm Michael DiMartino from Earthstock Foundation, and I have a couple quick questions. We do have our own immersive virtual reality world, and we're setting up academies, educational centers, and content. So I definitely would like to connect with you, but I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. I have a very serious question. And, this is definitely the wild west of creativity. Very innovative, very dynamic, very sexy, and as we can see, very, very effective. And I've been to Wisdom, and I know about Vortex Domes through Alan Tratner, one of my colleagues. But what I wanted to ask is, we're becoming more aware of the amount of resources, and I did see the solutions about having things virtual, then over-propagating landfills and manufacturing, which of course is a serious problem, microplastics and environmental toxins. But the question I had is there any plan or any legislation that any of you are involved in because of the amount of energy and resource draw? I saw a recent documentary just about one of the quantum computers that Elon Musk is using. And as a person who's involved in sustainability and the regenerative field, I have to say I have a deep concern about these quantum computing centers being put in places that have optimal drinking water, being put in locations that have huge energy draws. And as we roll out this technology more and more, there's this kind of succubus of resource that's needed from the natural world. So again, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I'm really interested in how we balance the innovation and this whole potentiality with what's happening in real time. And like you said, where we don't end up in the matrix on a power cable and everybody's in a pod and
Right.
the natural
It's a huge
world.
issue, actually, although it applies more to AI than XR. XR is user interface. You might be using a headset, which is sort of like a cell phone, basically, strapped to your face, right? Whereas with AI, and this is something you should know, when you do an AI query, ChatGPT or whatever, it takes approximately 10 times the power consumption than a Google search, right? So maybe think twice before using the AI if it's something Google can handle. But anybody else want to?
And you mentioned quantum computing. So quantum computing is definitely the future, and we're headed in that direction. Quantum computing outputs a massive amount of heat, and that means that it needs a massive amount of air conditioning to keep it cool. And so I don't have a solution for that yet, but I have had some deep conversations with people that are developing in quantum. And one of the things I asked them is, why can't you take that massive heat that's generated by quantum computing and use that to power the massive amount of cooling you need? And hopefully they're going to be working on a solution, but it's a conversation that's being had out there about how do you then take the output of heat and transform that into the power needed to cool, and how do you query the quantum computing and AI basically for solutions first.
A quote that I heard was, "The greenest mile you can travel is virtually." And again, the VR technology and AR is typically not it's not even close to the server's usage for AI and these quantum computers. It is server draw, and it's not efficient. So as soon as we can get viable and sustainable sources for electricity, possibly fusion in the near future. But the irony is, like, we most likely need to use the AI to solve these more crushing problems.
Right.
So,
I will say for us as a business practice, when we looked at what servers we were going to put all of our content on, and we're streaming content, so every avatar is pinging to the server and bringing the content down. We looked at which servers were green, which servers had the least impact on the environment before we put our content up there. And then we also, because we're a US company, we needed to have our content served in the US and the data. So that was all something that we looked at. And I'm also a member of the XRA, the XR Association, which is a DC lobbying organization that is constantly keeping track of the lawmakers and the regulations and what they're doing there. And I'm happy to say, and also sad to say, that the EU is so far ahead in regards to requiring companies that are building data centers to build with green solutions. In the US, it is an option and it is encouraged. In the EU, it is now required. So there's a lot of other regulations around XR that the EU is doing that hopefully the US will adopt.
Cool.
Let's put the
Thanks, guys.
pressure. Let's